Hello and welcome to this special release November only video. So thank you very much to you patrons, thank you very much for signing up. Let's dive straight into this, shall we? Okay, to begin the process, black and white undercoat, sketch it out. This gives me an idea, especially with a complicated miniature like this, of where to place shadows and highlights. Once that's done, I will undercoat all the blue portions of the marine with a mix of blue from Vallejo Air and a blue intensity ink. So the ink is really there to saturate, to really punch up, make that blue much more powerful. And this covers the entirety of the armor plate. Next up, opaque white by Medea Com Art. Really, there is no substitute, especially when it comes to airbrushing white. If you are beginning your airbrushing journey, make sure you find this and pick up a pot, because airbrushing white is incredibly frustrating unless you have the right equipment, and white is one of the most frustrating colors to airbrush. So at this stage I'm reinforcing what I did in the pre-coat, and I'm just adding some luminosity to the banner. Caspian blue is then airbrushed over the highlight, top mid-tone, as well as the mid-tone itself, blending it into the lower mid-tone. So this does cover the majority of the highlighted plates. Caspian blue is a light turquoise colour, so any turquoise colour will do in a pinch, and this adds variety to the armour plate. Then I go back to my original blue coat, so I'm using blue ink here, and this will cover the highlight through to the lower mid-tone. If you wanted more details on how to create blue armor, please refer back to the Legate Armor 4K tutorial series, as well as the PDF tutorial that was released this month. Okay, to finish off the armor plates, I'll then go back to Caspian blue and mix a tiny amount of ivory in there, and I will tidy up any mistakes that I've made after the oil stages. So again, this is a very brief run through. If you wanted a more in-depth explanation over the blue armor plates, please refer back to the Legate that was released in November 2018. Okay, we come to the meat of the tutorial, the banner. So I will begin the painting process by airbrushing blue over, so this is blue by Vallejo Air across the entire surface. As you can see, I'm not aiming to have this to be a very drastic transition in hue, just a light coverage, and I'll do that 2 to 3 times. Next up, rather appropriately named, is Ultramarine, and I will be highlighting all the raised aspects of this. So why am I using a different color to the armor plate? Well, the armor plate is a completely different surface. It's a polished ceramite surface. It isn't a banner cloth. It will have slightly different reflection points. It will seem more lustrous. It will have a deeper hue to it, whereas the Ultramarine banner, because it's made of cloth, it won't have as strong a highlight point. The blue gradients will be slightly more extended. Next up, I'm using Jordlin Turquoise by Scale 75 to further highlight the banner. And again, I'm not trying to push the highlights up to pure white, up to a very, very highly saturated surface like the armor plate. I want to make sure that when you're looking at the miniature, it's very much apparent as being a very different aspect. It's a different surface that we're looking at. Once the airbrushing stages are done for the banner, I cover the entire thing in a gloss varnish. I apply decals, add another layer of gloss varnish, and then matte on the top of that. So the Ultramarines, the artwork that they have is very symmetrical in nature, especially that hue. It's very, very difficult to create a very crisp hue using freehand alone. So we are using the decals like a stencil for us to make sure we have those really clean, sharp edges. And I begin the painting process of the hue using Anthracite Grey by Scale 75 and Graphite. I'm also using Ivory at this stage, and I'm just sketching in the main tones. I'm not too concerned about the blends in between them. And from here, I just want to sketch in the very, very basic tones. And from here, I could go on to blend them together with several successive glazes. So this stage is very much centered around the layering technique, placing one layer on top of another without much in the way of consideration for the blending process. That could come later with the glazes. Next up, I'm using Thamar Black by Formula P3 to edge the hue to make sure that it's all nice and crisp and sharp. And finally, I'm using blue by Vallejo. So when it comes to using decals, you can unfortunately get some silvery deposits around the decal itself. So in order to just alleviate that, in order to cover that up, we can go back to our original colours, and using the brush and the stippling technique to produce artificial texture to the cloth, we're able to cover it up and add depth to it. From here, I will be adding Jordalin Turquoise to wet blend into the top of the highlights, and that will be that for this video. We'll be continuing on with the freehand in the next one. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you next time.